Missing out on family time because of all the noise? Enjoy the moment without straining to keep up with the conversation.
Wow, what a beautiful sunset.
Discover Nuance Audio, the new invisible hearing solution that's built into your glasses. Discreet, comfortable, and easy to use. Nuance Audio glasses help you hear better and reduce background noise, so you can get back to enjoying time with your loved ones. Find a store near you at nuanceaudio.com.
The kind of old-fashioned cop who preferred working the streets and making arrests to taking tests toward promotion. He was the closest thing New York had to a Dirty Harry.
This is One Tough Podcast on the OG Podcast Network. Here's your host, Bo Dietl.
Welcome to One Tough Podcast. I'm joined here, like always, with my man Carlo, the producer. Morning. Today we have a really special show. Because this guy is not just a United States congressman. He is a personal friend of mine for a lot of years. And how it all started with Congressman King from the 2nd District was I decided I wanted to try to be a congressman. At that point, Joe Adabo died. He was the congressman. He was the head of the Defense Appropriation Committee. He was a Democrat. My uncle used to take care of him all the time. In Ozone Park, my Uncle Joe, Tipinaro. The Italian side. Right. So he used to feed Congressman Adabo a lot of good support, put it that way. And he was owned a big plumbing company. And I met Joe Adabo at weddings, at my niece's weddings and all that. And then all of a sudden, when I was 12 years old and 62, he says, "Bo, would you like to become a page boy?" And I said, "What's a page boy?" And it wasn't in my DNA to go to Washington and be a page boy. So now, fast forward, I become a cop and everything else in all my career. And then 1985, I have to retire. And then 1986, my congressman dies in office, Joe Adabo. So they have a special election. So my brother Alan, God rest his soul, says, "Hey, Bo, you could be a congressman." I said, "What does a congressman do?" He goes, "Don't worry about it. You could be one." I meet this guy, Russ Schrieffer. And then Russ Schrieffer introduced me to, what the hell was his name? The head of the Republican committee at that time, Lee Atwater.
Oh, okay.
So I go meet Lee Atwater in Washington, and he goes, all of a sudden, he goes, "Mr. President Reagan wants to see you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock in Washington." So they did a little background on me, and they saw that I had a good name recognition. I was on the cover of New York Magazine prior to that, and everybody knew about Bo Dietl, and now I'm going to run for Congress. And I didn't know anything about what I was going to do. Lee calls me to Washington. I sit in the National Republican Committee there. And the next I meet with this guy, Casper Weinberger, who was the defense secretary. He's telling me about strategic defense initiative, ASTAT satellites. So now I go for 2 weeks, Peter, to Washington. I'm just giving you a foundation of everything, and then Peter will come into play. So next thing is we go there. I go for 2 weeks. I stay in a Holiday Inn in Washington, and I then decide that, well, I know enough about it. I go to the New York Times. Max Frankel puts in the New York Times, "Bo Dietl was a great detective, great cop. He has no business running for Congress because he doesn't know what he's doing." I said, "With all exception, Mr. Frankel," I call him up. I said, "I know you don't like Republicans." I said, "I'm running as a Republican and conservative." I said, "Why don't you give me an opportunity?" He goes, "We called you. You didn't answer the call with Starr was his name." And I said, "You tell Starr he's full of crap." I says, "He never called me." He goes, "You want to come over?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, 2 o'clock, you come. So I had my old sergeant with me, Billy Campbell, and I show up there with a briefcase. I put this big tape recorder on the table in the New York Times editorial. I hit the button, and I'm there, and all of a sudden I start going in about the crime, about the crack problem, and about defensive initiative, the balanced budget. Graham Rugman, I thought it was a friggin' sandwich. That was the balanced budget thing, right? So next thing is I'm starting to whip out all these things, and Max Frankel's sitting there, the other guy, Starr is sitting there like this. The heads are spinning 2 hours. I said, "Did you ever know what it feel like to get stabbed? You ever was a decoy getting mugged in Harlem? People hitting you on the head with bats and bottles, being rushed to the hospital, blood coming over." I said, "That's what I did to protect the people of New York. And I know about this crack epidemic. My last case was 10 dead, 8 children in East New York. We're facing this epidemic." I did the whole deal. Next thing is the next day, they actually apologized to me in the New York Times and said they're not changing their endorsement from Flake, but I would make a formidable United States congressman. So I lost, I think, by 2,500 votes. Area was 7 or 8 to 1 Democrat registration. We almost pulled it off. Hence, Peter King. Peter King was the controller of Nassau County. When I was running, Peter got on board my ship. Every fundraiser with my sister-in-law with curlers in her hair sitting there. Peter was there. He was my biggest supporter in all, even though I lost, I'm a loser, but yet I didn't lose one thing. I didn't lose my respect and love for Peter King, and I followed his career, and I'm very supportive of him, and he's become what appears to be one of the greatest congressmen that we have. He fights for not just the people of his district, but he fights for all Americans, and he weighs things out. That's what I like about him. He's not total conservative. He's not left. He's not right. He's a moderate congressman that believes in fiscal, strength, but also social inclusive. We've all learned we have to change with the times, and we all have changed. And I think that I've noticed with you, Congressman King, is that you've really become a moderate in the sense that you're not so right-wing, where you weigh things out and you believe in that. And, one of the great things about Congressman King, he was the chairman of the Homeland Security at one point. He then went on to be involved with the Intelligence Committee. And probably Peter King, now, how many years are you the congressman?
It's my 27th year.
27 years. Wow. Holy macaroni. It was yesterday. But I'm going to tell you something, Peter. And every time, when there's an issue of any kind of security or any kind of issue, and I call Congressman King and the people of his district, call Congressman King about an issue, Congressman King answers him back, and whatever he could do for his constituents and the people of America. He votes that way, and he votes for the best for this country, and I'm very honored that you're here, Congressman King.
Thank you, Bo.
We've been doing this podcast. We're up to 61 now?
This is episode 62.
62.
Wow.
And we've had everyone on here from some of the major corporate people, Ken Langone, everybody's been here. But you are special because I'm very honored, and I do respect your position. I do call you Congressman Peter King with all respect, because you deserve all respect, Peter.
Thank you, Bo. It's the longest introduction I ever got, but thank you. And that was great.
Okay.
Hey, you're a great friend, known you many years. And also that year in '86 when you ran for Congress, at least you had a close race. I ran for Attorney General that year to Bob Abrams and lost by 1.2 million votes. Not that I counted.
Yeah, but I just ran for mayor of this great city, and they didn't even give me a line. I was knocked off Democratic line. I tried to run as a Democrat because Langone and then Steve Cohen says to me, the billionaire, say, Bo, if you run as a Republican, we can't support you. Run as a Democrat. And I do truly believe you could be a Republican or a Democrat. It's what you believe in issues. And I am very fiscally conservative like you. Mm-hmm. We have to pay for what we got. We can't just give everything away. And hard work shouldn't be deterred. And that's capitalism is the American dream for everyone. And you know what? We can't go so total left. And we all know our president very well. I know him 40 years, and I've called him a lying narcissist, which he is. But with that said, I supported him. I support him now. I love President Trump, and I will be supporting him. I am supporting him because the alternative is so gone into another abyss. That's the only word I could use, because if people don't realize, all right, he says things that we all don't like, we don't agree with, all Mexicans are thieves, rapists. The problem with my president is he can't say, you know what, I'm sorry. All he's got to do is say, you know what, I thought about some of the things I said in the last couple of years, and I got to apologize to some people. I'll apologize to the Mexican people. They're hardworking people, good family structure. Say something like that. Be humanized instead of just beating people into the ground. What do you feel about that, Peter?
Yeah, first of all, I agree with you. I think President Trump has done a very good job, certainly in my district, MS-13. He's really
wiped them out.
Yeah, absolutely. In the year and a half before he came in, they had 25 murders in my district alone. Since then, there's been zero. Since April of 2017, no murders at all within my district. He's done a great job. He's really done a great job. And ISIS overseas, he's crushed that caliphate over there. Done a great job. The economy is moving well. And he does have a tendency to say things that he should, again, it's not his style to apologize for anything. He just digs in. But I think people, somehow they give him a break to this extent, is that he speaks in metaphors, if you will. He just gets it out there. But he
huge, the biggest, the hugest, and all this and that. And, and then when he says something that is not true, he doesn't have to come back and say, I made a mistake. Compassion. People love to see, one thing about Obama, President Obama, respectfully, 8 years, he didn't do nothing in 8 years, but he was good at doing nothing. Mm-hmm. He made people feel good because he said nothing wrong. Right. And, what do you want? You want somebody, a yes man, or do you want someone that's going to be in there, Congressman, that's going to get things done? Cut the Boeing with the jets for the president, save $1.6 billion there. $5 billion for the defense initiative for South Korea with North Korea, with the missiles coming in to knock it out of the sky. Trump said, well, who's paying for it? The South Korean, the American general tell them, we're paying for it. Why are we paying to protect them? Their economy's better. They pay for it, otherwise we don't do it. This is just natural. NATO, why are we paying to protect Germany when they get their oil from Russia? Everything he says is common sense, but people can't take that. They want you to be a yes man. Mm-hmm. And in politics, Peter, you're not a yes man. You take it like it is. You've got a strong backing with your district. Everyone loves you there, whether they're Democrat or Republican. I know a lot of Democrats in our district. I have a home in your district. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you something. The Democrats, Republicans love you for what you do and what you say because you're not a phony baloney. You're a true person that cares about America.
Yeah, I like to think that. And, again, do the best I can. But, again, I think with the president, he could tone it down a bit because he is going to lose some of the votes in the suburbs from people who think he's gone too far. But if you ask them about his policies, they basically agree with him. But, like, for instance, they believe that illegal immigration should be stopped. But don't be talking about raiding every home. And he overstates it. His actual record gets it done. And
then to go back on gun control, I carry a gun. And I have a license and all that. I'm former law enforcement. But, even I, as an ex-law enforcement person, do truly believe we've got to stop the sale of these assault rifles. He's got to meet it some way. I believe in the Second Amendment. I'm a member of NRA. Every time I talk the way I'm going to talk right now, I get letters, you're a Bo, you're nothing but a wussy and all. Right. No, I'm not a wussy. What I'm all talking about is there's no need for a drum 100-round clip gun to be sold to people on the streets. Fact is that we have to be able to do a background. We have to utilize the FBI's intelligence organization. Right. If there's any hospitals, there has to be laws passed. If there are people with mental issues, it has to come up on a federal FBI website. For 30 days, you have a clearing period to get a damn gun license. What is wrong with that? Number two is, what is wrong with stopping the selling assault rifles? I'm not talking about going into people's homes and taking the ones that have them. I'm talking about anything for the future. You've got to meet halfway, show people with all these mass shootings. And it's not even the mass shootings. It's what goes on in Chicago. When I was a Fox News guy for 12 years, I said, we had up there when Obama got elected, now it's up to 6,000 murders of African Americans in Chicago, the city where Obama came. No one gives a crap about little Letitia sitting on the stoop, shot in the head at 7 years old. That little girl, her life is as important as people being gunned down with mass shootings. But no one cares because there's no kind of political influence there. You have Democrats running these damn cities in Detroit, Chicago, Baltimore, and what do we have? We have mass gun things. And you know what? One of my things was, Peter, and you'll know exactly where I'm going with this, we have something in our toolbox. We can use the federal government RICO law, 3 or more involved in a criminal enterprise, whether it be drug dealing, murder, robberies, or stolen products. You put together an indictment, federal RICO, 3 or more involved in a criminal enterprise. We could serve them federal warrants. We could search their houses, get the guns at it. We could use the federal statute and clean up those murders with those gangs in Chicago. And we could do it if you really want to. But it's not politically good because, these are only little black children getting shot there. There's no cops involved with that. And this irks me inside my stomach.
Yeah, there's more innocent kids shot every weekend in Chicago. There isn't any mass shooting. I agree with you. It's really
16,000 people are going to be killed this year with shooting deaths. Half of them, believe it or not, are suicides. Yeah. That's a whole other area there that people don't even talk about. The readily availableness, now we have cops killing themselves in New York. There's a plague of it. And people ask me, Bo, what do you think why are they killing themselves? I said, because they're so frustrated with the non-support with the department. And number two is the fact that we got a mayor that's an idiot. He's a moron. I named him Big Bird. And if I saw him out in the street, I'd call him an idiot to his face, which I have done many times to his face. And when I ran for Congress, I said, you know something? I've been a detective my whole life. And I know a criminal when I see one, Mr. Mayor. You're a criminal with your pay for play and your corruption. How much money do I have to give you to get something done in this city? I told him to his face on CBS.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Let's talk about you now. Come on.
Okay. Now listen. You're right, though. First of all, if all this talk about background checks, I support them. 99% of gun owners are going to keep their guns. 99% of people who want to go in and buy a gun will be able to get it. But if you're a criminal or if you have mental illness, you shouldn't have a gun. I don't see why the NRA, that's why I really criticize them, why they make such a...
Yeah, why are they blocking it so much?
And also on the assault weapons. Now, when I put this on Facebook, I'll get the first 100 comments.
Threats against you, right?
Oh, yeah.
Peter, you're a PUSSY, all that crap.
Yeah, you sold out. You sold out the Second Amendment. You've given in.
We don't sell out to the Second Amendment. No. We want something that's real. And majority, Peter, of the people murdered in this country are murdered with illegal guns.
Yeah.
So it has nothing to do with that.
Exactly.
And then when these mass shootings occur, it's multiples there, and that certainly has to be dealt with. The NRA's got to slow up, take a chill pill. We're not against Second Right amendments. We just want to control and try to control the murders in the country.
Yeah, and again, though, the onslaught you get when you come out for this, and again, I think the president, be like Nixon going to China. The President Trump come out and said, listen, I support the Second Amendment. Gun owners are terrific people, but you don't need an assault weapon. That would, first of all, those gun people have to vote for him anyway. There's nobody else, not going to vote for Elizabeth Warren or Joe Biden or any of them. They're going to vote for him anyway. But a lot of suburban-type people would say, yeah, this makes sense. Who needs this?
I was with the president 3 weeks ago at Steve Ross's house. He took a lot of crap from that. Everyone's dropping out of the
Hudson
Yards and all. So I was at Steve. I didn't pay $250,000. I was a guest of my friend who didn't take his wife and took Bo. And I was very happy he took me. And we had all the billionaires, Lauder, Ross, Roth, Whitcomb, everybody, all the billionaires were there. And the president was there, and he was talking about how he took ISIS out. The general said, well, it's going to take maybe 6 months. He goes, it's too long. Use those F-16s and bomb the shit out of them. This the president talking. They took all our cell phones away. And he goes, yeah, we bombed them into the ground. They gave up. You know how it is to beat someone into the ground, Bo? And I'm sitting right in front of him. And then he goes, I got to thank you. And this is the first time I learned. When he was running, I went up to Trump Tower. I says, Donald at that time. I says, veterans are getting screwed over. I got friends who are veterans. They got to wait 3 months to go to VA administration. Why don't you come out with a card for the veterans where they could go to any hospital, any doctor? It's called Veterans Choice. And he says, the veterans could thank you for that, Bo. The president mentioned that for everybody. Right. That was where veterans can't get into a certain VA hospitals. Oh, wait 3 months, 4 months for a CAT scan. Bullshit. They defended our country. They were there serving our country. They should go to any hospital, give the bill to the VA. We're paying for illegal immigrants' medical crap. Why can't we pay for our veterans? And that's the Veterans Choice Card. And I'm very honored. And you know what? When the president said that in front of everybody, who was sitting next to me was Senator Lindsey Graham, and he patted me on the shoulder. And he goes, Bo, great move. I said, I can't believe that this president gave me the credit for that Veterans Choice. And I'm very honored. If I could save one veteran, that was what it was all about.
I was down at the White House when he signed the bill. It was really a very emotional moment.
He didn't mention me then, did he?
He didn't have to mention you, Bo. Everybody knows about Bo Dietl. No, listen, all these things you're saying, most part, you and I agree on most issues. But again, when you're talking about the murders in Chicago, now murders went down dramatically in New York under Giuliani and under Bloomberg.
Gangs.
Yeah, gangs. And there was tough policing that went on, which you have to be. You can't be a nice guy. You can be fair and honest. You don't have to be a nice guy. You're dealing with bad people.
Bad people.
Yeah. And I think what happened in Chicago and Baltimore, Detroit, it's been a disgrace. Absolute. And the people that get hurt are not the white guy. It's the African-American kids.
Black on black crime.
Yeah. And these poor kids. And you have so the overwhelming majority of good people in those communities are being held hostage by these gangsters. And it's, again, I give Rudy credit. I think Bratton, Ray Kelly did a great job coming in the way they did.
And I'll tell you right now, someone contacted me from the entertainment business with this Garth Brooks, and a lot of the entertainers, they want to do a big press on gun control. They said, Bo, how do you feel about it? I said, I'll come out public. I mean, look, I got nothing to hide. I mean, there's a moderate way of talking about it. And they said, you think you could get law enforcement? I said, I'll get I'll guarantee I'll get Brad and I'll get Ray Kelly.
Yeah.
They believe the same way we believe. There's no cop out there that is not for gun control because they want to make sure that people with guns are people that have proper background checks, and they don't want to come facing an AR-15 automatic with a 100-round clip. We don't need cops to face that kind of stuff.
Yeah, several years ago when Ray was the commissioner, he came to me and he asked me to put a bill in which saying if you're on the terrorist watch list, you can't get a gun.
Why not?
I could only get 4 Republicans to co-sponsor it, and it's gone nowhere. It's never passed the House of Representatives. Because again, the gun groups say, well, they could put all their enemies on the terrorist watch list and seize their guns. First of all, if you're on it and it's improper, you get your name taken off. There's a whole procedure to get your name taken off. No, there's scare tactics. To me, it would make so much sense. If you're a mental patient or a criminal, you shouldn't get a gun. You don't need an assault weapon. And if you're on the terrorist watch list, you can't fly, but you can go out and buy a gun.
You could take what happened in Florida with the mass shooting down there, for example. This guy had all the records of the mental illness. It was reported to the local. It has to be a 30-day. We have to utilize the FBI on these background checks. We have to have database. We have all the technology in the world. If there is an inference, you can make it report and then get all that data together. This way they plug a guy's name in there. Oh, he had 3 reports of this. He was on the computers saying this. There has to be the mental illness aspect of these mass shooters all come into play. They're mentally ill and they show signs prior, whether it be on the internet or whether it be other people saying, wow, we got a problem, where a person could pick up the phone and say, look, I want to make a report. This guy's been talking about shooting up the school. We've got to deal with it. And someone has to deal with it. But it was lost in the system. FBI was notified on that kid in Florida.
Yeah, I know.
They didn't do shit with it. My point is that's what we have to improve. The technology is there, Pete. And I mean, some of the other issues, very important. I want you to talk to us about other issues you're involved with the intelligence that you can speak to us about, because you're still in the intelligence community.
Well, just really quickly before we move on, we're talking about the bipartisan gun control bill, which was passed several months ago.
In the House,
And, since then there's been several more mass shootings.
Right.
Why do you think there's so much intransigence in bringing that to a vote in the Senate?
Partly because the NRA and gun groups are very active in the districts. The money is not a big factor. It's the fact that they have tremendous mailing lists and that in many of these, especially these red state seats where the Republicans are, the NRA has come out against it. And what they say is this is the first step to take away everybody's gun. They use the scare tactics. And Mitch McConnell feels he doesn't want to bring it up with an election year coming because it could hurt Republicans in primaries, hurt them in the general election. But again, you're talking about, like, for instance, with background checks, 90% of the country supports them. So you're talking about a tiny percentage which people are afraid of in the primary. That's why they're not doing it. It's really, I'm not to oversimplify, but that's it.
And a lot of Republicans are not running. Look at Texas. I think 8 Republicans are not running for re-election. That's bad. We might lose more seats in the Congress if this continues that way, and that could be one of the issues.
Actually, it's up to 13 now.
13 seats that we have.
Yeah.
We can't afford to lose. We're supposed to take it over.
Yeah. No, so that's basically it. It's hard to explain unless you're there. But again, other parts of the country, they think a gun is a sacred right. So any restriction you put, even if it's a sensible restriction, they're against it. They say nobody has a right to say anything about my gun. My gun is absolute. God and guns, they say.
Well, to me, I don't agree with that. And
I don't either.
I'm armed now. I always carry a gun. And you know why? I carry a gun so if I have to get involved with something, I can take an action and protect somebody. Yeah. The cop mentality is still in my mind. If I see someone who's being victimized, I certainly will get involved. And a lot of the retired cops are there. And you have a mass police force out there with retired guys that have taken action. And God bless them and the ones that take the action. But as far as that goes, that's a really serious issue. When I was with the president, when I had to take a picture with him, they let you take a picture with him, I said, Mr. President, gun control, please, assault rifles. He goes, Bo, we're working on it. That's what he said to me in my ear. I just hope to God that he's doing it and he's not saving it. Sometimes they choreograph the issues to come out with a big blast because we know one thing about elections, momentum.
Yeah.
You got to have the momentum. You want to keep your ammunition dry to the end, so you blow them out. So if we got pictures of Biden falling down, you save it to the end when he falls down. That's all.
No, you're asking for other issues. One issue right now is the weak field of Democratic candidates. I mean, they're so whatever criticism that you or I may make of President Trump, you compare his record to any of these others, he's in good shape. very good shape as far as they're concerned. I mean, Joe Biden's a nice guy, but he seems to have really lost a step on this. And then you have, Elizabeth Warren. You have, you get down the whole
nut
list.
job from Ben and Jerry's ice cream up there, Vermont.
Bernie Sanders. Yeah.
Now, well, my big thing, and then the big question I ask, look, I like Michael Bloomberg. Michael Bloomberg honestly would make a great president as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
He was probably our best mayor. I love Rudy Giuliani. He's my best friend. We may play golf this weekend. I love Rudy Giuliani. Mayor Bloomberg did a great job also.
He did. Yeah, we got spoiled. We had 20 years of great mayors.
Great mayors.
We had 8 of Rudy and 12 of Mike. That was great
we had a great city.
Right.
City ran like a top. Then he brings in this Mexican jumping bean. I can't say that. I'm sorry. I'll apologize already. This fella from Mexican as the head of the Board of Education. And he comes right out and says, white teachers need not apply. You will not get advanced. It's going to be brown and black. How do you make remarks on reverse discrimination like that? My daughter's a school teacher in New York City. And if you're white, you ain't right. And you cannot do that. That's a reverse discrimination as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and this whole idea of taking the elite schools. Elite means for the smart, really smart kids. You want to have them there for the smartest kids. That brings up everybody. And it's an incentive to be bringing everybody down to one level.
That the Asian kid that works in his mother and father's Chinese restaurant on a bicycle delivering Chinese food and studying his ass off, all of a sudden advances and he studies instead of he's not on a boob tube and he's advancing himself for his family and all. Why should we take that away from kids that study hard? And you want to know something? There's a lot of African-American kids that study real hard, go to Harvard and become successful. It's out there for everyone. Success, hard work equals success in the story.
Yeah, and again, you should have something out there as a goal. And to be taking these schools away or to be dumbing them down hurts everybody. I mean, if any group to get ahead, whether it's the Irish, the Italians, whatever, when you have the elite in your group move up, everybody moves up with them. So to me, if you start saying there's not going to be elite schools, that prevents people in the poorer communities from having a great school to go to.
Yeah, I mean, look at like Brooklyn Tech when we grew up. We had Brooklyn Tech, Stuyvesant. These are schools that, look at, I was not a good student, but yet, that was not I couldn't afford to go to college. I worked there. I grew up with all the gangsters we all know, Gotti and Scopos and all, and I became a slave. I call it slave, labor, concrete labor. It was a slave. All you do is work your ass off, get home at 3:30, 4 o'clock. You fall out because you were so tired. And then I became an iron worker on the World Trade Center. I worked on a permit. I was up there in the World Trade Center, and I worked hard, but all I wanted to do was go to college. Springfield College is what I wanted to go. I wanted to be a gym teacher. I was a national champion and all that. My marks sucked. I couldn't go. I couldn't afford it. So I worked my butt off, and I have a high school education. I wish I had a college education, but I don't. But I have a doctorate of the streets.
Right, you certainly have that. And obviously you had a great job as a cop, one tough cop, no doubt about it.
I worked hard. And you know what it was? Everyone said, oh, Bo, how'd you do this? How'd you break all these cases? I said, you know what it is? It's just hard work. It's this pit bull integrity that I had where when my partner Tom Collin, God rest his soul, he died. And I'll never forget it was labeled by Mayor Ed Koch the most heinous crime in New York history. 2 creeps broke into a convent on 116th Street, Our Lady of Mount Carmel, 1981. There was a Catholic nun that was up there, and they beat her. They raped, sodomized her. They put brooms into her. They carved 27 crosses. They urinated, threw her downstairs, left her for dead. 200 detectives were assigned. I had nothing to do with it. Tommy was at that point having problems with drinking, and they had tickets against him, and they were going to take his detective shield away. All of a sudden, I come up with an idea. Everyone's coming to me. I go to Rayo's. I go to the Adam's Apple with Felix, and they go, Bo, that's your area. What are you doing? So I told her, the Captain Fortunato, give me 3 days to work on it. I get Tommy. I said, we're breaking this case. We had nothing, Peter. Just little hints, this, that. We went out. We tossed every pimp, every drug dealer, hang them up, put guys' heads in toilet bowls. I admit it today. I didn't kill nobody. and then we got the information. We got one in Chicago, one in New York, and we got the right guys that raped and sodomized that. Not. Yeah. If you offered me $1 million, you could never offer me anything for the feeling that I had when Tommy and I broke that case. And this is just hard work. This is what it's all about. Yep. And now today, any cops that are out there who are working hard, going after criminals, they're going to be taken upon. I had 40 civilian complaints, Peter. 40. Never founded one. One guy, his jaw got broken when he said something about my mother. I blacked out. I was up for 3 days. I don't remember right hooking him, but I did get my right hook. He said something about my mom. I was up for 3 days, and he sued me for $40 million. Never got a penny. Today, I'd be in jail. He'd get the $40 million, and that's it. So every cop out there today is walking around, and they don't want to get involved in doing their job because they don't want to get in trouble. Look at Pantolino. This poor kid went out there, and he was called on a police report of a guy who the people who own stores, they said, look, we're paying rent. This guy's, so now they go, hey, look, you got to come in. He's been arrested before. We're not taking me. So what are you supposed to do? Let the guy walk away? So he went, and that headlock that he did, dozens of times. I told Stuart London, the lawyer for Pantolino, I'll get 5 big black guys, 6'6". I'll bring them down one by one in a headlock. As long as they don't have heart conditions, they ain't going to die because I've done it. I'm a little guy, 5'8". I had to be to come on the force. I grab him in a headlock, you bring him to the ground. That's what you do. This kid had in his mind, never ever imagined that this young man, and my feelings go out to the family. I don't want to see anybody die with Mr. Gardner. But the problem here is you can't effectively make that officer guilty of his death. I talked to Michael Bodden, the medical examiner. He said he died of a heart attack.
Right.
What it was when you have asthma, it closes up, and if you have a bad heart, his sister, 27, died of a heart attack, dead. Gardner. So, I mean, that's how he died. But to blame that cop for that, it's a terrible, tragic incident that occurred. But to say that cop was responsible, and then when I read about O'Neill, my friend O'Neill over here, the police commissioner. Now, Ben Tucker, I came on the force with. People don't know who he is. He's the black guy that stands there all the time that doesn't say nothing. He's the first deputy commissioner. Came in the academy, great guy, has a house near me in the Hampton. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful guy. But he was called in by the mayor, are you ready to be the commissioner? Prior to O'Neill's coming out with his report. And I actually was on ABC radio, and I said on the air, Commissioner O'Neill, I'll make you the president of my company tomorrow if you find your balls and don't fire Pantolino. And if that mayor fires you, I'll make you the president of my company. I put it out there, just like that, and I meant it. And all of a sudden, I guess the mayor said to him, if you don't fire him, go look for another job. And he kind of cracked. You know what I would have done? I would have said, you know what, Mr. Mayor? Fire me. And I would have told him when Sharpton was sitting there with Bratton, if I was Bratton, we had Sharpton there, Mayor Big Bird and Bratton, and all of a sudden Sharpton is sitting there at the news conference telling Bratton, well, you know, you're going to conform with this is a tax-evading punk, racist, racial person that starts trouble. He comes out of the woodwork like a rat out of the sewer whenever there's an incident, and he thrives upon instability of the racial, with people. And all of a sudden, if I was up for the commissioner, I would have been like this. I tell you what, Mayor, make him your police commissioner. I'm not going to listen to this guy. That's the difference. Yeah,
and again, I mean, Sharpton, this guy has so much influence. He should have no influence at all. Absolutely zero. And as far as Pantolino, I think he had a terrible deal. Listen, I know Commissioner O'Neill. I just wish he had gone the other way, and he should have, because but Pantolino, first of all, there was nothing racial about that. It was minority business owners went to Banks, who was the chief, who was African American, and Banks called into Staten Island and said, "Get that guy off the street." And they knew this guy had been arrested 29 times before, whatever it was.
He knew the game.
He was almost 400 pounds. They spoke to him about 10, 15 minutes, tried to talk him into it. He wouldn't go. Then they went to take him down. There was this a large window.
Basically threw the cop through the window.
And so he brought him down. I think the chokehold, if you want to call it that.
Headlock. It's not a chokehold. Chokehold is when you crush the larynx, like that guy Baez in the Bronx. That was a chokehold.
I'm saying, even if you wanted to call it that, it was like 3 or 4 seconds. And he let go. And also, him saying you can't breathe.
Yeah, how could you talk if you were strangled to death?
Yeah, if you can't breathe, you can't. And so then people were saying, why didn't he ease up on it? So every time you lock a guy up, he says, my arm is killing me, you're breaking my neck, you're breaking my arm, the cop's going to let him go. No, he went down, and he down the ground. Nobody used any racial term. And you had nobody took a cheap shot out of him.
You had the EMS workers there. Yeah. They should have said, oh, you were an asthmatic? They could have maybe gave him an inhaler, would have opened his lungs up.
Yeah.
That's another point, that they were there, the emergency service people were there, the medical emergency people. Nobody dealt with it. So, and then Pantolino suffers. The thing that kills me, and I talked to Stuart London, I said he should put his papers in and for retirement because he's getting death threats against his family, against him. He can't be a cop anymore. Put the papers in before he gets fired. He at least would have gotten his pension. Now he's got no pension. I'd love to hire him, but the only problem is all the security I got people be ending their contracts with me. I can't hire him. I say the PBA, Mr. Lynch, should hire him to work for the PBA. Give him a damn job, right?
Sounds good to me. I mean, again, he got a rotten deal. There's no doubt about it. And again, even forgetting Pantaleo for a second, what impact is it going to have on the average street cop?
They're not getting involved.
Right. Well, let's say a guy's 18 or 19 years on the job. Is he going to risk everything because some guy's got a camera and take it out of context?
He's going to let the gangbanger with the gun go, maybe to kill somebody else, and that they're not doing efficient police work anymore. Right now, I talk to cops every day. Everywhere I go, they blow their sirens. They pull me over. Bo, keep on going. You're our spokesman. Because I'm not afraid of nobody or nothing. I don't care. They came at me from IRS, New York State tax. Hey, come after me everywhere. I'm not afraid. You know what? I pay my damn taxes, and I'm not afraid of anybody, no human being. But my point is these poor cops are out there, and they say, Bo, we're not getting involved, man. We're not doing nothing because we don't want to lose our pensions. Is that what you want out there protected? And then all of a sudden the community's going to start getting mad. Well, they're not doing nothing. Well, because when they do something, you're out there demonstrating against them.
Yeah. Yeah, can't have it both ways.
Right.
And again, when you have murders going from over 2,000 down to 200 from the days before Giuliani, I mean, it just shows. Think of all the people that are alive today because of what the cops did.
And I love when the Mayor Big Bird, says, we did this, No, Mr. Mayor, you are not a we. You couldn't shine I can't curse, but you couldn't shine the dog doo-doo underneath the cop's heel of his shoe. You're a piece of garbage. You should get going, retire ready. And I still want to know where the $900 million that your wife was in control for mental issues, Operation Thrive, who's thriving on that? I want to know where that money went. That's another issue. Yeah.
No, there's a lot of issues out there. And again, I think the city is definitely going to go in the wrong direction.
Oh, it's going to blow up.
Yeah.
All right, pulling back from the local issues, another issue that we talk about frequently on the podcast is cybersecurity and the potential cyber warfare from foreign actors. Being your membership on the House Intelligence Committee, what are your thoughts on our vulnerabilities? Either attack on the electrical grid, on our
actually, I was term limited off the Intelligence Committee a few months ago. I was on really longer than anybody else, so I have no problem with that. But I still have access to a lot of this. I went through a lot of briefings on it. I wish I understood it all. This is so complicated, this whole cybersecurity. But no, I wish I had the numbers in front of me of how many times China, for instance, tries to hack into us every day, into the government, into the Pentagon, into the State Department. Iran, how many times they try to do it. We have good defenses up, but the fact is all they have to do is get in once or twice. And fortunately, so far, we can do more to them than they can do to us, but there's a constant God, and that's why a lot of companies in the private sector don't realize how vulnerable they can be. I'm talking about banks, we're talking about investment bankers, and but even with all of that, at the federal level, all of the personnel records that have been taken over the years, Social Security records have been taken. So this could be the future warfare right now.
Yeah, they don't have to throw one shot. Who did we have on the show for that FBI agent?
He was Eric O'Neill.
Eric O'Neill was the FBI to set up the supervising head to spy with Russia. What was his name?
Robert Hansen.
Right, we did the whole thing, how he caught him and all. But people don't realize that you just could look as far as our F-35. Look at our F-35, our top jet. Look at China's top jet. Look at our top military stuff. Look at China's. They've breached us on they've breached into our intelligence on every piece of warfare. They have actual satellites that could shoot our satellites out of the sky now. My problem with that is in the military, if you take our GPS away, you could go sit in that F-35 until the roosts come home. You ain't going to fly it without GPS. So if they I'm scared because I'm in the cyber security business and I've been in ancillary on that. I'm not a technical guy, but I know when things work and when things don't work. We have a keystroke encryption where on your iPhones or your computers, it encrypts every time you keystroke. So that means even if you get breached, they can't read what you're doing, which is just another layer of security. It's not a silver bullet. It's many layers of things. My thing is, if I was the president of the United States, that would be my most important thing, is cybersecurity, utilizing the public sector's brains with Stanford, all these brains, and make a national, forget about space army that the president said, that's secondary. Cyber security army, to me, is the most vulnerable, most important. To us, it could hit our election again. It could hit our energy grid, our military. To me, that is of the future. I'm scared of cyber attack more than missile attack.
Yeah, and again, it's a different sized country, but when Russia attacked the country of Georgia several years ago, Georgia had a very effective air defense system. With one step, whatever the Russians did, they knocked out the entire air defense system. It was down, and the Russians just come in and had full access. Like
what we did with Iraq when we took out the whole when we had the Gulf War. Yeah. We took out the whole defense system in a matter of seconds. And you know that I've been to Beijing, China. I have an office over there. Put it this way, El Comunisto.
Yeah.
People walk around in their Beijing there, smog. Traffic, food sucks, women have no butts, and they walk around here like Night of the Living Dead. Peter, nobody's smiling. They walk around like soldiers like this all around Beijing, China. Millions of people, and all they're focused on is one thing, is to advance China. And if you read some of their scriptures, it's all about taking over the world, little by little. And the way they're going to take it over is through technology. Scary. Does it scare you, Peter?
China is our number one threat right now. I mean, Russia's there.
Putin, I can arm wrestle him. Yeah. I think Putin, give him a couple of vodkas, give him some porno movies. We could deal with him. China's the one, is our biggest.
Well, look at what's going on with Hong Kong. I mean, they're cracking down brutally.
Oh, Hong Kong's going down. Did you see they had about 500 military vehicles in the stadiums there? Did you see that, Peter?
I didn't see that. No, but I know they are definitely cracking down. Also, China is everywhere economically. They're in Germany, they're in Central America, they're in South America, and they're in Africa. I mean, they are putting their investments everywhere, which gives them the economic power. Plus, they're building these islands in the Pacific to expand. No, they are.
Oh, no, and they're going to take the next stop after Hong Kong will be Taiwan. And you know what America's going to, if Trump's there, he ain't going to stand for it. But if they get one of these wussy pussies, then what's going to happen? They're going to go, oh, you shouldn't do that, China. You shouldn't have taken over Hong Kong. Excuse me, Taiwan, what's next? Hawaii? You know what? It's scary. But these are issues that you being on the Intelligence Committee have dealt with a lot. Even with Homeland Security.
Yeah.
When you were the Homeland Security chief, you had to deal with the cybersecurity threat, right?
Cybersecurity, definitely. And also then we had the threat, which has been somewhat under control, is that you had people in the Muslim community who were not cooperating with the police. That seems to have turned around quite a bit, but that was a real issue, including here in New York for a number of years. But no, cybersecurity, no, it's out there. That is a major issue, major issue. And Homeland Security is probably in the forefront here. And also, as far as the elections, they are working very closely with the state governments to keep the Russians and others from penetrating our election system.
Well, whether you like Muslims or not, and to me, great Muslim families are out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
The fact is that under the Quran, I just was in Dubai 2 weeks ago, and the scary part about it is the multiples of the families there. Everywhere you go, you have one guy with 3 women following him, they only had where they could see their eyes coming through, with about 10 kids in back of them. I mean, the multiplication of the Muslim community is going to be half of the world by 2050. So reality is we got to pray that moderates of the Muslim communities take effect for the family values and not for the value. Because if you read the Quran, you can't get along. Wipe out, take them out, and that's the bad part. But if you read the Bible too, we did some nasty things in the Bible too, and even in all religions.
Right.
But times have changed. We have to change with times. Because what's religion all about? Religion's for poor people. Poor people for religion because they have nothing. They pray and that things get better. And I mean it. We have to have the moderate Muslims that are going to be able to influence the communities, because whether we like it or not, they're going to be a major effect in our future.
Yeah, and the overwhelming majority of Muslims are outstanding people. You go to a community which has been, in fact, dominated by Muslims. You have very little crime, very little drug pushing, very little assaults on the street. But there are certain people in that community, just like the Italians have the mafia, the Irish have the Westies, the people, and it's important for the good people in the community to let the cops know who they are.
One more thing, because we're winding down, but did you know, you ever hear the IRA?
Sure.
You're young, but did you ever hear the IRA?
Yeah.
He's one of the guys that was involved in making peace in Ireland. Tell us a little bit about it. Come on.
Yeah, actually, I give Bill Clinton a lot of the credit for that. That was going on for years over there, and
some of your drinking buddies too. Come on.
Oh yeah, no, I know. It's true. But anyway, basically, Bill Clinton got the United States involved, and England was our close ally. We have great friendship with Ireland, but nobody wanted to take the first step. And Bill Clinton got the IRA to call a ceasefire. He had more to do with that than anybody else. And then they got other groups to call ceasefires. And basically, President Clinton told the Brits and told the Irish government and told the IRA and others that we would guarantee an agreement, that we wouldn't let the other side. The IRA felt if they put down their weapons, the Brits are going to come in and kill them. The British felt if they dealt with the IRA
Yeah, but you were negotiating for the president.
Yeah, I did a lot of that with the president. Yeah, I was an emissary to people like Jerry Adams and others over the years. Yeah. No, we had some interesting meetings. My wife remembers one in Belfast where I snuck into a men's room. Nobody knew Adams was there, and he was giving me messages to bring back to Bill Clinton. Yeah, that was interesting stuff, yeah.
You think he's just a congressman. Yeah. He's a peacemaker, too.
Do you think that all the things going on with Brexit would maybe reignite any of these tensions?
Yeah, Brexit is a real threat to Northern Ireland, because not just to Northern Ireland, but to the peace process, because of the Good Friday Agreement, there's no border now between Northern Ireland and Ireland. I mean, technically, they're two separate areas, but there's no border. You go right down. You have no idea when you're going from one country to the other. And so you have people in Belfast who have never been to Dublin, people in Dublin have never been to Belfast. Now they go back and forth. It's like one country. If Brexit, if the Brits pull out of the European Union, that border will have to go back up for customs purposes. But in the eyes of the Irish people, that's a British border going back up.
So that could be like a scab peeled
Absolutely,
off?
Yeah. So we're working on that. We got to realize, and it's not just an Irish issue. I mean, the United States guaranteed that agreement, the Good Friday Agreement.
How do you like this Trump lookalike that just became the prime minister? With the blonde
Boris
hair
Johnson.
What's his name?
Boris Johnson.
Boris Johnson.
How do you like him?
Actually, I met him at Mike Bloomberg's house one night when he was mayor of London. He's a character. I mean, give him a chance to get it done, but he's got to realize that there's consequences. And he had no idea this was even going to affect Ireland, or the Good Friday Agreement. And the last thing Britain needs is another war in its own country, which is the way it was in the past. So, also, let me just say this for the record. I have to admit this. It's a confession I have to make. My father trained Bo in the police academy many years ago.
Number one physical guy in the academy.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah, well, let me tell you something. Back then, that was what I was saying. When I wanted to go to college, we had a physical fitness team, 5 guys. We competed on national level. We were number one in the nation. I was number one individual. I used to do 180 push-ups, 40 pull-ups, good ones, and we used to do this 4 hours a day. So when I went into police academy, his pop was there and all the instructors were there, Gotay and all them guys, and they were betting how many push-ups I could do and pull-ups I could do. And it was just like, just tell me how many you want me to do and I won't stop. And his dad was a great, all the guys in the academy loved Bo, man, because you know what it was? It was just, they never saw anything like it, and they didn't realize I was cheating a little bit.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
No, cheating in the fact that I did it 4 hours a day for 4 years in high school. Okay. So, I mean, cheating, I had more than anybody ever had, because 4 hours a day with Tom Connolly was my gym teacher. We used to go to Salisbury Park on Thanksgiving Day before we'd eat our turkey, and we'd be doing push-ups and pull-ups in the park. And I would tell my mom, I got to go meet Tommy Connolly, and we got to work out for 3 hours before we had Thanksgiving dinner. That's what I'm talking about. You know, if you believe in something and you work hard, then that's why you become successful. So when I was on the street, you know, I never killed nobody. When I was a cop, I got shot at from here to there. Guy shoots at me 5 times, throws a gun down. You got me, Bo. I said, you didn't get you. You're going to get yours. My point was, never ever. I stabbed or cracked on the head, baseball bats, fractured skull, everything. Never did I kill anybody. Always depended on my physical strength. And if I didn't have that physical strength, I would be gone a long time ago. One regret I had, Peter.
Yeah.
Service. When I was 17, I went to Floyd Bennett Field. I wanted to become a Marine. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, I took this stupid cop test, and then they put a 2A deferment. Then I went on a lottery. And to this day, I feel as though I have that void of not being a service person, because I think it's a great thing for every young man to go into the service. You gain respect, responsibility, honor, and that's a very important thing, because these kids today are so wavering with mommy, and I'm guilty, and mommy and daddy give you everything. Mommy and daddy give you a new car. Mommy, they don't know what the work ethic is to work hard. And that's the problem today in today's youth. And this thing, these iPhones are the ruination of our youth. Today, you look everywhere. Go to a restaurant. 2 couples are having dinner, and they're looking at the friggin' iPhones. These are the ruination of our youth. This is the ruination. I was at the Yankee game last night, so a judge popped that home, and I had my little grandson Jackson there with Jacqueline, my daughter. What a great game last night. They kicked some butt like always, and the Yankees are winners. Well, Peter, Congressman King.
Yes, sir.
I want to thank you so much. It's
Thank you, Bo.
It's a true honor for you to come on my podcast. And, if there's anything, Carlo, take it away.
All right. So every week we do something called Punk of the Week, where it can be a person, it could be an idea, it could be a thing, just something that's bothering you. And we go around and we share what's
your
the
punk issue, a person, a thing that's bothering you this week the most?
You asking me?
Yeah.
I would say the fact that nothing's getting done in Congress, and we can solve or at least resolve many of these issues, and nothing's being done. The other one is I would say to you that when every time a cop gets involved, the cop is always wrong, if you believe the media. That drives me crazy.
Okay, what about you?
My punk of the week is summer's over. Now it's fall.
Stop being such a fruitcake, all right, please? Summer's over, but with summer over comes the leaves of fall, the cool breeze, and then you get the nip on your nose with the frost, you get winter. Otherwise, move down to friggin' Florida with those other gingos down there, sweat, humidity. Ugh.
Let me add one other thing. I'm still haven't gotten over the fact that the Mets blew a 6-run lead in the ninth inning the other night. I really haven't. That's killing me.
That was a killer. But my punk of the week to follow up with is one thing. The punks of the week are your constituents, Congress people, Republican, and the senators who were Republicans when Trump had the both houses. Why the hell didn't we get stuff done? That's my punk of the week. Those congressmen who were Republicans, we had it all for 2 years. Why didn't we get a lot of things done? That's my punk.
Good question.
It is a really good question because all we do is talk about what could have. We had it all. Now we got to pray to God. We hold on to the Senate, and we really got to pray to God. We hold on to President Trump, and God bless President Trump because we need you. Because the alternative is going to be this country will go into a toilet bowl. And thank you again, Peter.
Well, thank you. Good man,
you
Bo.
have a need?
Thank you.
Carlo,
All right.
put him on a list.
Thank you very much for Congressman King for being here. Where can people find you? Where can they reach out to you?
Well, my office is in Massapequa Park. It's on Park Boulevard, and it's 516-541-4225. That's the number.
And they answer the phone over there.
And you have a social media, anything like that you'd like to plug?
Yeah, it's PeteKing02@gmail.com.
All right, great. Okay, so thank you very much again for Congressman King for being here. We're on social media. You can find us at One Tough Podcast on Twitter. Bo is at Bo Dietl on Twitter and at The Real Bo Dietl on Instagram. Subscribe to our show. Give us a great rating. Tell your friends. We appreciate our fans. You can find the show wherever you get podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, all other services. And you can also go to OG Podcasts on Twitter to get the latest. You can email all your questions to onetoughpodcast@gmail.com. We answer any fan questions, guest suggestions, things like that. We thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next week.
One more thing. September 27th, the movie The Irishman's coming out.
Yeah. You're in it, right? Yeah.
Not in it.
You and De Niro.
And Pacino.
Yeah.
And I'm their boss. And I say to De Niro, there's only, I curse a little bit in the movie.
No.
There's only one. Put it this way: I'm
like
the
the
boss.
Wolf of Wall Street. Okay.
I'm the boss of Pacino and De Niro. Pacino plays Hoffa. It's a very entertaining movie. We had Nick Pileggi on here. That was one of the screenwriters with, and Scorsese. But it's going to be a great, entertaining movie. Like I say to people, very factual and very. You know what they do? They blend interesting things together, like The Godfather. You know, it was Profaci with the olive oil. It wasn't Corleone, but it all works as long as you get entertained. That's what it's all about. September 27th, The Irishman, big movie.
All right. So
Thank you, Congressman.
Thank you.
Hello, folks. Larry Kudlow here. Pay attention, because China is leading the largest anti-American alliance since World War II. One that's already dumped U.S. bonds, grabbed 43 million acres of our farmland, and is plotting to dethrone the dollar. That's why IRA and 401k savers are protecting their savings with gold. Please go to freegoldguide.com/Kudlow or just call 800-621-3908 for your free gold guide on how to protect your wealth with gold 100% tax-free.